of the sidebar a little bit. So let's break out some more components out of there. So this was all already copied out of static.html. One clue for where some other components could be extracted out of here was just the list of CSS files from the other project. And part of it was just looking for class names that begin with a capital letter. That's a pretty big clue. Room list, avatar. Those things could probably all be user info. Those things could probably all be separate components. Because that's what I don't use capital letters at the beginning of class names unless it's for a component. So that was a clue that I think this should be another component. But you may find even more opportunities for that. So let's go ahead and extract user info into its own. So here's where that div begins. Here's where it ends, right before the H1. So I'm just going to copy that. And let's make a new file in our source directory. Capital U user, capital I info.js. And what's in there? Now we've got the user info, right? But that doesn't live there. It's probably not going to need any state. So this can probably just be a stateless functional component. So I will import React, but not component from React. I'll say const user info equals arrow function. Don't need a render method because the whole thing is a function. I just need a return statement. I'm going to return that stuff that I copied out of the other place. So it's already been converted to JSX, right? I have class name instead of class already, so nothing else to do there. I just need to make sure I export default user info. So here I have props.user.displayname. So we need to make sure we have props coming in here. This new component will need some props. So just put props in the argument list. I have styles here too. So I should probably put that style in there. We'll worry about that in a sec. I'll just go ahead and for right this minute, I will just copy this styles object. I'm not going to keep it, but just so I don't get an error because styles doesn't exist. Let's just, come on you. There we go. I'll just throw that at the bottom. Just to avoid having an error. So back in sidebar, I find where user info was. Right here, a div just inside the aside, right before the H1. Let's get rid of that. Let's import user info from /user info and throw it in right here. We did need a prop, right? The only prop we needed was the user. So we'll just pass that along. That's already in sidebar as props.user. So user info, user equals props.user. Let's see what we end up with. Okay, still looks fine. But there was a UserInfo.css over here, I think. Yep, UserInfo.css. So let's see if we can translate some of this. Let's see what's in here. User info, so that's just the container itself. UserInfo.avatar, UserInfo.user. UserInfo space A, which means any link inside UserInfo, which would be, where's UserInfo? Here we go. Here's a link. So that's this. It's the sign out button. And then a rule for when you hover over that thing, which is something we don't know how to do yet. So let's put some of these styles in there. We'll worry about some of them later. So right now what I've got here is just this padding. So user info, the rest of this sidebar, that doesn't apply to this new component. H1 doesn't apply to this new component. No need to call this children anymore. This applies to the user info thing itself. I'll just call it, I can call it user info, why not? So it still needs this padding, but it also needs the rules that I have right here. Margin, display flex, align items, center. So let's get that in there. Paste them, whoopsie. Fix my indentation real quick. Put in multiple cursors by holding Alt. Get rid of the semicolons, make them commas. Margin bottom should be camel case. Align items should be camel cased. And these values need to be quoted. Just highlight and hit quote. All right. Seems legit. See what that gets us. Doesn't look very different, probably because we don't have the avatar in there yet. So let's see what we can do about that. Anything else? What's this user flex one? Oh, well, this isn't any different because user info, right? But up here it still says styles.children. Should now be styles.userinfo. Still not really seeing any difference. Again, probably because the avatar isn't there. Want to have a look real quick. Here's my user info. The style, I still just see the padding. Am I in the right project? I am totally not in the right project. I'm in the afternoon version. I'm in the afternoon code. Let's go to sidebar.js. Copy and paste what I just did. UserInfo.js. Okay, that's more like it. Now I see all my styles here. Let me just real quick undo what I just did in the afternoon. All right. That's better. So I see that user info is now styled with all of these rules that I just put in here. Also inside UserInfo.css, there was some style for the avatar, but I think avatar with that capital letter, we're going to make probably a new component out of that. UserInfo.user, I had flex1, so something with a class of user. That would be this div right here where I had the username displayed. So that could use this flex1 style. So let's add this. So let's add style object called user, and flex1 is the only thing that's in there. So then on this user div, I just need to have style equals styles.user. Again, probably won't see any difference. But if we find that div, I see that flex is now there. So that's a start. Okay, that's one more component. Worth a commit. Add user info component.